All right, a very warm welcome. This is a book reading session. We are reading a book called Everything, Don't Believe in Everything You Believe. This is by Joseph Guin. I'll just share it here on the uh, sharing. Give me a minute. All right, a very warm welcome. This is Don't Believe Everything You Think. I am just sharing it with you on the screen, and we are going to read the first chapter of this book today. This book is basically on the power of thoughts and how it impacts us, and all that we talk about in our coaching sessions, right? So don't believe everything you think. Let's go ahead. We'll read one by one. It also says why your thinking is beginning and end of suffering. So all that we are suffering is because of whatever we think and whatever our thoughts are. If our thoughts are positive, we think positive, and we don't suffer. If our thoughts are negative, our suffering also happens because of our thoughts. Yeah. All right. Let's go ahead. Let's start. Let me start with the introduction. So this is the table of content. It has topics like journey to finding the root cause of suffering, the root cause of all suffering. Chapter 3 says, why do we even think? Chapter 4 says, thoughts versus thinking. Beautiful. Then if we can only feel what we are thinking, don't we need to think positively to feel that way? Yeah, so this we are going to introspect a little on positive thoughts. How the human experience is created, the three principles. Interesting. Chapter 7 says, if thinking is the root cause of all the suffering, of our suffering, how do we stop thinking? Very true. Then it says, how can we possibly thrive in the world without thinking? So it's all about thinking and thoughts and all of that. Chapter 9 says, if we stop thinking, what do we do about our goals, dreams, and ambitions? Beautiful. Next chapter says unconditional love and creation. The next chapter is what do we do next after experiencing peace, joy, love, and fulfillment in the present? Great. Chapter 12 says nothing is either good or bad. 13, how do we know what to do without thinking? Beautiful. Chapter 14 says how to follow your intuition. Chapter 15 says the creating space for miracles. Next is what happens when we begin living in non-thinking. Wonderful. And now what? Okay, all right. So let us start. There's a lot to read and it's a very small book. I really loved it. That's why I picked this up. It is less than 100 pages. So we'll be able to complete. Okay, introduction. What you will discover in this book and how to get the most out of reading it. This book was written to help you find everything you've been searching for the answer for and the answers to all the questions you've had your entire life. I understand this is a very bold statement, but you will shortly see why I have complete confidence in saying this. What I know to be the truth from the depths of my soul is that you will not be the same person as you were after you read this book. The only constant is change. Growth is an inevitable process of life, and it will be impossible for you not to change after reading this book. Beautiful. We cannot change what we are aware of, and once we are aware, we cannot help but change. Sheryl Sandberg. Beautiful. No matter who you are, where you're from, what your background is, what you've done and haven't done, what status or wealth you do or don't have, Martian or not, you can find total peace and unconditional love complete fulfillment, and an abundance of joy in your life. I promise you that you are not the exception. Even though it may seem like it, love knows no boundaries. An open mind and willing heart are all you need to receive every answer you've been looking for. And yes, there are extremely practical implications and byproducts of understanding what is inside of this book, which many of my coaching clients have experienced, such as 2 to 5x increase in income, exponential growth in their businesses, deeper and more harmonious relationships, overcoming lifelong addictions, the spontaneous disappearance of destructive habits, an increase in health, vitality, and overall energy. Miracles like these occur every day for many who understand the principle within this book. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. If I were to just list some of the improvements and results people have gotten from this understanding, more than half of this book would just be stories of such miracles that happen daily. I am reluctant to mention any of these external results because it is not the point of this book. These physical manifestations are the byproduct of the inside out understanding of how our experiences of life work. In actuality, we only want these external results like money and significance because we want to experience certain feelings inside, such as love, joy, peace, and fulfillment. The feeling is really what we want in our lives, not the physical things. But the trap is that we believe the physical things will give us those feelings. The secret lies in the feeling. How profound. Now let's get into the guide of how to go through the book. Don't read this book for information. Read it for insight. Insight or wisdom can only be found within. That is why it is called insight. To find everything you're looking for in life, you must look inside yourself and discover the wisdom that already exists within you. All the answers lie deep within your soul. This book is merely a guide to help you look in the right place. I truly admire anyone who still has the hope that what they are looking for is out there. This means you have hope. Without hope, we have nothing. So the fact that you are here reading this now is a testament of your faith, courage, and strength. I know that 100% with 100% certainty that you will find what you're looking for if you continue down the path you are on with the hope that you have it in your heart. I want to make it clear that this book is not the only book that contains truth. The truth lies within everyone and in everything. You must look beyond the form, the physical, to see the experience, to see and experience the truth, the spiritual. The words in this book are not truth. They point to the truth. Look beyond words to see the truth for yourself. Truth cannot be intellectualized. It can only be experienced. The truth lies within a feeling, which is why it cannot be formulated into words. If you want to find truth, look beyond the words and look for a feeling. Many who discover the truth will describe the feeling as one of complete peace, unconditional love, and overwhelming amount of joy. People who describe it as most familiar, unfamiliar feeling, it feels like you are finally home. Look for that feeling and everything will be revealed to you. In this book, I will not say anything that you don't already know deep inside your soul. This is why it will be a unfamiliar feeling when you experience the truth. This is why it will be a familiar, unfamiliar feeling when you experience the truth. Beautiful. Don't try to use your intellect to figure it out. You won't. As soon as you intellectualize you've missed it. The truth does not come from memorizing a sentence or two. A child can do that, but they will not understand the truth. The truth comes in the form of a feeling. From the feeling will come the wisdom, and truth you are seeking for, you're looking for, which will set you free. That's what we are all ultimately seeking, isn't it? What I will unveil to you in this book will seem simple. It will seem almost too simple, and your brain, ego, will try to fight it or attempt to make it more complex. It will think that it can't be this simple. When that time comes, I want you to remember that the truth is always simple. What is complex can always be broken down into its smaller counterparts. The truth cannot be broken down into smaller constituents, which is what makes it true. This is why truth is always simple. If you want to find the truth, look for simplicity. Approach this book with an open mind and a heart of pure intention to know the truth, and you'll receive everything you've been searching for. Before we move on, I want to take a moment to express my deepest gratitude for you being here and sharing your time and attention with me. Those are some of the most valuable life forces you could give to another. So thank you for that gift to me, which you are also giving to yourself. Never forget your own divinity, because it is only through our divinity that we have our humanity. With light and love, Joseph. Let's go ahead to the chapter 1, the journey of finding the root cause of suffering. People have a hard time letting go of their suffering. Out of a fear of the unknown, they prefer suffering that is familiar. Thich Nhat Hanh. There is an important distinction to make when speaking about suffering. When I mention suffering in this book, I am referring to psychological and emotional suffering. There is a way in which no matter what happens in your life, you do not have to suffer emotionally and psychologically. I'm not saying that what we go through is all in our heads or made up. Terrible and unfortunate events happen to people every single day. What I'm saying is that although we experience a lot of pain in our lives, suffering is optional. In other words, pain is unavoidable. And how we react to the events and circumstances that happen in our life is up to us. And that will dictate whether we suffer or not. Buddhists say that anytime we experience a negative event in our lives, two arrows fly our way. Being physically struck by an arrow is painful. Being struck by a second emotional arrow is even more painful. That is suffering. The Buddha explained in life, we can't always control the first arrow. However, the second arrow is our reaction to the first. The second arrow is optional. When I first heard of this quote from Buddha a few years back, I was confounded because although I understood what he meant, I didn't know how I could apply this in my own life. If anyone were given the clear choice of suffering and not suffering, I don't think anyone is in their right mind would choose to suffer. How can I just choose not to suffer? If it were as easy as that, I don't think anyone would be suffering anymore. It wasn't until years later that I came across a new understanding of where suffering comes from, that I was able to stop it at its source. As I began my journey of self-improvement, I came across a myriad of different teachings, studies, and methods to help people overcome their problems. I read dozens, if not hundreds of books, studied psychology, went to therapists, listened to many different thought leaders, tried changing my habits, waking up at 4 a.m., changing my diet, becoming more structured and disciplined, shadow work, studying personality type, meditating daily, going on spiritual retreats, following spiritual masters, and researching different ancient religions. If you name it, I've probably tried it. I was desperate to find an answer because I wanted to know how to stop suffering in my own life as well as help others to do the same. Although some of these things did help me improve incrementally, it didn't stop my suffering. I still always felt extremely anxious, fearful, unfulfilled, irritated, angry, frustrated, and heavy every day. Even after doing all of that, I still didn't discover the answer. And if I am being honest, I was even more lost than before I started on this quest. I felt purposeless, hopeless, and directionless. I didn't know what to do anymore, where to look, and who to talk to. It wasn't until I was in my darkest hour that a glimmer of hope began to lead me to the light. All of a sudden, after years and years of searching, I stumbled upon one of my first mentors that taught me how to become a coach. And he revealed to me the answer of how I can alleviate my own suffering. The answer I discovered was in the understanding of how our minds work and how the human experience is created. This is the end of the chapter 1. See you in the